The wind howled over the peaks of Kunlun Mountain, carrying whispers of a soul that refused to fade. The heavens had passed judgment. The world had mourned. But Nezha's story was far from over. His body was gone. His blood returned to the earth. Yet his spirit remained, wandering in the space between life and death. He had sacrificed himself to protect his family, his people, but fate had never been kind to him. The gods had deemed him a troublemaker. His own father had cast him aside. And yet, deep in the immortal realm, a force greater than heaven itself stirred, because a warrior like Nezha was not meant to disappear. The sun cast a golden glow over the sacred grounds of Mount Kunlun, where the great Taoist master Taiyi Zhenren meditated in silence. His flowing white robes were still as the wind circled around him, carrying the distant echoes of a familiar soul. Taiyi's eyes snapped open. His vision blurred, and for a moment, he saw Nezha's spirit, restless and untethered, caught between realms. The boy's fire had not been extinguished, only trapped. A slow smile formed on the immortal's lips. "The heavens made a mistake," Taiyi murmured, "but I shall correct it." Taiyi Zhenren raised his staff, chanting an incantation. The petals began to burn, not with ordinary fire, but with the sacred Lotus Flame, a fire that could cleanse the past and forge a new future. Nezha's soul shuddered, drawn into the swirling lotus light. His form, once intangible, began to take shape once more. Rebirth had begun. The first thing Nezha felt was warmth, not the unbearable heat of battle, nor the suffocating pressure of the ocean depths, but something calm and steady, like sunlight after a storm. He opened his eyes. For a moment, he couldn't move. His body felt different, lighter, more powerful, yet new. Slowly, he sat up. He was no longer in Chunang Pass, no longer in the world of the living or the dead. Instead, he lay within the petals of a massive golden lotus, suspended in a space filled with shimmering clouds and endless sky. And standing before him, smiling knowingly, was Taiyi Zhenren. "Good morning, troublemaker," the immortal said. Nezha blinked. "Master," Taiyi nodded. "You've been asleep for quite some time, but now it is time to wake up." Nezha looked down at himself. His old body, the one he had sacrificed, was gone. In its place was something new, forged from pure lotus essence. His form stronger, sharper, untouched by mortal weakness. He flexed his fingers, feeling the energy coursing through him. He wasn't just alive. He had been reborn. "You brought me back?" he asked, eyes wide. Taiyi chuckled. "The heavens may have judged you unfairly, but fate has other plans." Nezha stood, his feet light against the petals of the lotus. He felt the power pulsing through him, stronger than ever before. His fire-tipped spear appeared in his grip. The wind-fire wheels hovered beside him, waiting. But then, a darker thought crossed his mind. "What about my parents?" he asked. For a long moment, Nezha said nothing. Then he gripped his spear tightly. "Then it's time to go home." The skies over Chintang Pass were overcast as Lady Yin knelt before the incense altar in her garden, eyes filled with quiet sorrow. It had been months since Nezha had sacrificed himself. The pain had not faded. She still felt it every day when she walked through the halls of their home. When she passed the training grounds where he used to spar with soldiers, when she saw children laughing in the streets, unaware of the boy who had once fought to protect them, she lit another stick of incense, whispering a prayer to the heavens. "If his soul still lingers, please keep him safe." A sudden gust of wind swept through the garden. The flames of the incense flickered. Then behind her, "Hey, mother." Lady Yin froze. The voice was impossible. It couldn't be. She turned slowly, hands trembling. And there, standing just beyond the incense smoke, was Nezha. Alive. Whole. His robes were different, his body glowing with divine energy, but his smirk was the same. Mischievous, confident, so unmistakably Nezha. Tears filled Lady Yin's eyes. "Nezha," he grinned. "Miss me?" She ran to him, wrapping him in a tight embrace, unable to stop the sobs that broke free. He hugged her back, for the first time in his life, feeling truly at peace. But the moment couldn't last, because from the entrance of the courtyard, a voice cut through the air like steel. "You." Nezha pulled away from his mother and turned. Li Jing stood at the threshold, his sword drawn. For a long moment, father and son stared at each other, neither speaking. Then Li Jing's grip on his sword tightened. "This is impossible," he said coldly. "You were dead." Nezha twirled his spear. "Guess I got better." Li Jing's eyes burned with suspicion and something else, something colder. "You are a spirit, aren't you? A demon come to bring further shame to this household." Nezha's fingers twitched around his spear. "You still think I'm a curse, huh?" Lady Yin stepped between them. "Please, no more fighting. He's our son." Li Jing's expression remained hard. "He was my son, but the heavens demanded his death. If he has returned, he is a threat to the order of the world." Nezha laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Wow, even after I died to protect you. Huh." He tilted his head. "Tell me, father, when they came for me, when the gods demanded my life, what did you do?" Li Jing said nothing. Nezha's voice was quieter now, but sharper than any blade. "Nothing. You did nothing." The tension crackled like fire. For a moment, Nezha thought his father might attack him, and part of him wanted it, wanted to finally face him as an equal, not as a disobedient son, but as a warrior. But then, Li Jing did something unexpected. He lowered his sword. "Leave this place," he said, turning away. "You are no longer welcome in my house." Nezha exhaled slowly. And then, without another word, he turned and walked away. But as he stepped beyond the gates of his childhood home, something in him changed. He had no home, no family, no place among mortals. If the heavens did not want him, and if the mortal world would not accept him, then he would carve his own path, and he would never bow again.